Hello, magnificent ones. Today's episode is What is Love Part 2. So I'd like you to take a moment to yourself and ask yourself, what is love to you? Have you ever asked yourself, truly, how do you want to be loved? I'll let that resonate with you for a moment. How do you want to be loved? And how do you show your love? I think this topic is very fascinating because love means different things to different people. And we first learn what love is through culture and through our upbringing. Some cultures, love is expressed through actions and not through words, whereas other cultures, love is expressed through words. More Western cultures, love is expressed through words. People say, I love you constantly. Growing up, for me personally, love was an action, not a word. So love was sort of a finality in some cases. Love was a goodbye. So to say that I love you to someone in many cases meant that you were simply saying goodbye to them because you were leaving, and that would be the only time you would really hear, I love you. So I've always found the concept of love to be very intriguing. And as I grow older, I now realize that love is so many things that we cannot possibly comprehend. For example, you may think that someone loves you because of what they do for you, right? And that person may just see their actions as an obligation, but maybe that's your love language, right? And so in explaining or trying to come to an understanding of what love is, we must also view love as a language. And in some cases, both parties involved are speaking the same language, therefore they can thrive. And if they cannot speak the same language, then there's a disconnect, which leads to hardships or miscommunications and many other things that are negative, which we won't brush on too much. But love is a language. So what is your love language? What makes you feel loved? For me, personally, to be loved means to be understood. I think that I always want those closest to me to express love to me in a way that shows that they understand who I am as a person. And if they understand me, they will do things that are in accordance to how I live my life. And so understanding me is very important to me because at the depths of who I am, I think if the people who claim to love me did not understand me, I would feel alone. I would feel lost, and I would feel as though I'm wandering, on this journey called life. But because I'm understood by those that I love, and they love me as well, I feel as though I can accomplish anything. Because if I'm experiencing hardships, I don't have to worry about being understood so I could solve them. When I'm experiencing hardships, those who are closest to me, my tribe, know what to do. And so for them, they could just jump in and lend a hand if I'm struggling or if I'm frustrated because they speak my love language because I'm understood. Sometimes we simply say that we love someone, but we don't truly understand the weight that the word I love you carries. And that may be because of media. We see so many things that contradict the original meaning of love. I think love is so watered down because we use the term, I love this, I love that, I love you. And I think there's different versions of I love you in the West, right? Because friends can say, oh, I love you. But then that really just means I like you. And sometimes when you say I love you to someone in a romantic fashion, you have to say, no, 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 I love you. And so love is this complex language that we're not all speaking the same language. And that leads to the downfall of many relationships because there's not a true understanding of what someone is trying to convey when they use the word I love you. When I say that I love you, what's behind those words are I will be loyal to you and I will sacrifice for you because I love you. The way that I express my love to those closest to me is through my sacrifice and my loyalty, my undying loyalty to our relationship. When you say that you love someone, it should carry weight. Love should be conviction. If you know that you do not truly love someone and you simply just want to be in a relationship, then don't say I love you. Because you could destroy someone's entire being by leading them along and pretending that you are something that you're not, that you're in love when you know that you are not truly in love. If you love someone, you will have conviction behind your words and behind your actions. So, I love you means that you are the center of my world. I love you means that I will put you first and I will be last. I love you means that I'm selfless. I love you means that I'm forgiving. I love you means that I will be patient and I will seek to understand and I will be kind. However, before you even get to that state of the I love yous, spend time loving you. Love yourself and understand yourself and your self-worth. When you love yourself, you take the time to know who you truly are. You know how you want to be loved, and you will always know what love isn't to you. And that's vital. So that can prevent you from being in a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship because you know what you're worth and you know when things feel a certain way that it's not coming from a place of love, or when certain words are expressed to you, you know when it's to build you up and when it's to tear you down. Because you have an understanding of who you are and whose you are. So love yourself and be patient to yourself and forgive yourself as well, so that others may not take advantage of your love. Because love is a very powerful thing. Love is the reason why many countries go to war. Love is the reason why many human beings do magnificent things. So the concept of loving yourself must first be at the forefront of your existence. Once you love yourself, you will then reflect that self-love unto others. Because whatever is inside of you, that is what will be revealed to those around you. So take the time to both know and love yourself. You know, as I said earlier, love is also a language. And therefore, love also means that sometimes you have to walk away. sometimes it's not that a relationship isn't meant to work out. It's just not meant to work out right now, because maybe both parties require healing or more time to grow into the person that they need to be. And so in those moments, love means walking away. Because if you don't walk away, you will create an environment of everything that is the opposite of love. An environment of insecurity, an environment of fear, an environment of distrust, an environment of stress. And that's not good. That is a weight that no one needs to carry. So love sometimes requires you to walk away so that you can one day walk too. And that's fascinating, because you can both love each other, in a romantic sense that is, and because you still require growth and maturity, you stifle each other, you tear each other down, you disrespect each other, because you both don't have enough emotional growth to grasp what you have in your hands. And so sometimes by walking away, you grow and you get to learn more about the world, more about yourself, more about what you want. You learn how to communicate and to articulate the things that you desire. You learn what you like and the things that you do not desire. And that, my friend, is something that once you gain, there is no force on this planet that can take that away from you. There is a power to knowing who you are so that you can know what you stand for and what you will allow. Because you have to be able to stand for something in a relationship by knowing and having clear boundaries and knowing how you're going to navigate a relationship, meaning that each relationship has a course, right? Because whether you're friends with someone or you're romantically involved with someone, you have to know where you want to go. What is the thing that you desire in that relationship? What is the outcome of that relationship? What do you want the outcome to be? And that's important. But that first requires you to know you. And the only way you can accomplish that is through time. So value your time and spend more time getting to know yourself. Sometimes you just need to shut off. Just don't be involved with social media. Spend time with yourself. And if you find that you can't spend time with yourself, then you have a problem, because that means you're dependent on others. And so long as you're dependent on others, you won't fully grasp the depths of love, or what you will truly be able to tolerate. Because when you're insecure, you will put up with so much, and that will then turn your concept of love into something quite disastrous and toxic. Because if you get involved with maybe friends that you're the one chasing them as if you were a lost pet, they may sometimes use and abuse you until you don't even know who you are when you look in the mirror anymore. You have no confidence. You end up being broken. And when you search for love, I don't believe that anyone should search for love. Sometimes your heart lies to you, your mind plays tricks on you, and you tell yourself a story that you want to see, and that is the outcome that you pursue. And then you end up in the things that are harmful to your detriment. I once found myself in that very same predicament. I was going through life simply trying to please everyone, whether it be my parents, my coaches, my friends, that my identity became an identity of simply pleasing. And I didn't know what I wanted for myself. I was just going through life, and then I started to feel burnt out and neglected by others, and I felt isolated. Even I felt like I was doing so much, but nothing was being reciprocated to me, and that made me feel so alone. And it was though as the more that I gave and the more that I would do, was the less love that I felt. And I remember becoming depressed. And in that moment, I said to myself, you know what? Maybe I should just start dating. And I started dating someone, and I was in a very toxic relationship, and the same thing persisted. I was trying to constantly please this person, and I would do anything to make this person happy at the cost of my mental health. I gave until I could not give anything else, and I would constantly make sacrifices for someone that didn't value my sacrifices. Someone that knew that they could do anything and get away with it. And because I allowed that to happen, and I didn't respect myself to not endure those things, as time went on, I started becoming resentful. And it brought me to a very dark place, and I was depressed. And I began to then isolate myself from, those I loved. And somewhere along the line, I think I was watching a movie of some sort, and I remember it clearly. I don't remember the movie, the name of the movie that I was watching, but I remember the scene where this kid fell off of a bike, and a random stranger said to the child, "Hey, just get back on up and keep on riding." And the child didn't cry. The child started laughing and started riding the bike. And I guess I mirrored that interaction with myself, that, hey, I need to just keep moving forward. And so I went my separate way, with this person, and I spent time, with myself, and I started to work out more and read and just dive into my studies as much as I could. And as I was doing this, and I would interact with various people, I realized how much I had grown as a person, because I would speak to someone and I would see red flags. And I would say, oh, can't be friends with this person, can't date this person, because that experience taught me the things that I did not desire for myself. It taught me how I wanted to be loved, because I didn't realize I wasn't appreciated. But it took me going through that toxic relationship to learn that I wanted to be appreciated. It also took me going through that relationship to know that I wanted to be understood. And now now I'm married, of course, but I could articulate the things that I wanted to make me feel loved, and that if these things were not occurring, then I could not be in a relationship with that person. So if I was being taken for granted or being neglected, I would voice that. So that way we were on the same page. And so you have to be your own advocate. If you're in a relationship, you have to communicate what you desire. And if you are not matched well with your friends, then maybe it's time for new friends. If you're not matched well with your partner, maybe you need a new partner. Because you have to be on the same page. You have to speak the same language. Not pretend that you're okay with something that you're not. Don't be led and be strung along. Because if you're being led, you could be walking to your own demise. Ever since I became a parent, I'm trying to put this in words in which I don't have to give a long-winded, speech. I learned that love sometimes requires you to be selfless, and that selflessness is sort of like the death of one reality to birth another reality. So the death of self, right? So before I was a parent, I had goals, I had ambitions, and I'm sure that's the same for millions of people across the world. And then you have a child, and in order for you to be a good parent in some cases, it requires you to kill your dreams, to then focus on this new life and pursue that. So love sometimes means death of self in order to make something else be the center of your universe and the center of your focus. And when you don't do that in moments that you should, you go through life missing the important details. The important details that money isn't everything and your time is everything. And I think Steve Jobs taught us that all, because when he passed, didn't matter how much money he had, didn't matter what he accomplished, it couldn't save him. So with that being said, remember that we're here for a very finite amount of time. Our time is limited. Our time is scarce. It is our most valuable resource. So choose love. So love your family, love your friends, love your haters. Because love also makes you feel light. Love is joy and love is peace. And the opposite is chaos, turmoil. And it requires you carrying a heavy burden. But love can be that too, right? Because sometimes I think, especially when it comes to children, and maybe it's during their teenage years when they become extremely rebellious, that's when love really becomes sacrifice, and that's when you carry the heavy load of, the hormones and the disrespect. But it's humbling, right? Because you know that no matter what this person says or what they do, you love them unconditionally. And you will always be there for them because they're yours. And that's something that no one can take away from you. The love that you have for your child, familial love, is special because that is literally you, or a part of you, that is out there in the world. Something that you helped to create. Something that teaches you new depths of love. It teaches you fear. It teaches you patience. And even me saying that brings me to a moment a few weeks ago that I experienced. I was leaving work and I saw a young man, and he was just pacing back and forth. And he was, I think he was like around 19 years old, if I had to guess. And I asked him if everything was okay, because he was just pacing frantically. And he said, "Do you care?" And I said, "Yes, I do care, because I'm asking if you're okay. So yes, I do care." And this is me paraphrasing. And when I asked him what was wrong, he said that he was nothing. And that broke my heart. It really did. It pulled all the strings, because he had just gotten into a fight with his parents, and he said his parents didn't believe in him and his dreams, and he didn't feel loved by them. And that made me tear up a little bit, because there's so many people in this world that don't feel love, that feel neglected, that don't feel like they have a voice. They have no one to inspire them, no one to encourage them, no one to tell them to keep going when things get hard. That's a luxury that I've always had in my life. My parents, as strict as they were, they've always believed in me. They always pushed me to new heights. Same with my coaches, my mentor. So my self-esteem has always been strong. I've always known that I had someone to turn to, no matter how depressed I was in life, or how low I felt in a moment. I always knew that I had someone to turn to. But there are so many people that don't have that don't feel love, that don't feel like their existence is worth it. And you never know who's experiencing these things. So you must be kind to your fellow human beings when you pass them by, because they may be carrying a heavy burden. You never know the load that people are carrying. So choose love. Choose to be kind, and choose to be patient, and choose to be understanding. Take a moment to pause and look around you. Look at all the faces that pass you by each day. Are those people that you see, are they happy? Do they feel fulfilled? Are you going to make their day, or are you going to tear them down with your words? That's a question that is worth answering. It's a question that's worth pondering. I think that love itself is greater than all of us. I don't think that as human beings we can fully comprehend love, or what it truly means. And as we grow older and as we experience different things, the definition that we have, it changes. So I can't fully articulate what I even think that love is, because as a parent now I'm conscious to a new reality. I've always known that teens were depressed, because I was once a teen and I was depressed. But then I grew into adulthood, and it's almost as if I forgot that. And now there are kids that are depressed, and maybe sometimes these kids work for us, maybe we're their teachers, maybe we're their coaches. And we forget that they're going through a lot too. And we don't always say the right things. We don't always provide a safe space for them. And they go through this world not feeling loved. And then suicide feels like the only answer, because they don't have anyone to turn to. Or the people who are supposed to show them what love is are the people that cause them the most harm. So we have to think about the impact of our actions and the impact of our words in life. We may not intend to cause harm to others, but the reality is that sometimes we push until there's nothing left. So when we say that we love people or we want to be better human beings, we must know that we should love with a sense of conviction that everyone on this planet deserves love and everyone could be going through something. You should assume that people are going through something and therefore be kind to them and be understanding, or take a moment to pause so you may be more selective with your words when you encounter people in your day-to-day life. Because we can be an agent of good or an agent of destruction. But I say that you should be an agent of construction. Build people up, make them happy, make them laugh. It costs nothing to say hello to anyone. It costs nothing to say, how are you doing, other than a moment of your time. And saying hello is free. As Gandhi once said, be the peace that you would like to see in this world. That's also me paraphrasing, by the way. And if you desire to be the peace that you want to see in this world, then you will live according to that. You know, as I said earlier, love is greater than all of us, and it's something that, as human beings, I don't think that we can comprehend love fully. And so I think we can understand certain aspects of love and what we see in the world. And so I think that there are types of love, as we established in part 1 of this podcast. And transactional love is something that's always been fascinating to me. There are people who love you for what you can do for them. And I think transactional love is short-lived. They love you for what you can do. And so long as you provide whatever it is, maybe it's time, maybe it's finances, or maybe it's a listening ear. And as long as you're providing those things, this person loves you. But they never reciprocate any of those things that they require from you. And I think transactional love is short-lived because at some point it reveals itself. When you realize that maybe the one day that you say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't lend you any money right now because I'm struggling, and that person says maybe the most horrible thing to you, or maybe they just stop associating themselves with you because you can no longer provide for them or for their needs. I think infatuation lasts far longer than transactional love. What I mean by that is anyone can fall in love with superficial things. Who doesn't like things that look nice? And that also applies to people. We like food that looks nice. We like a home that looks nice, a car that looks nice. And the same goes for people and attraction. And so when you're attracted to someone, maybe that attraction can last 5 months or it can last 30 years. But it's longer lived than transactional love in most cases. I don't even know why these are concepts that exist. Because if something is transactional, then you're not really valuable. You're only valuable because you can do something. If something is infatuation, it's superficial. And it means that so long as this thing is in place, I will love you. It's not unconditional. How do we get to unconditional love? The love that means that no matter what, I'm here for you. The love that means I will always sacrifice for you. The love that is I will always forgive you. How do we get to that love? What are the criteria for us as human beings to attain unconditional love, unwavering love. What is that? What must we do to accomplish this? How do we get there? We're in the era in which love doesn't last. Divorce rates are extremely high. And love doesn't last because we're just overstimulated. And we're constantly looking for stimulation. And there's an ease of access to information there. So it's easy to be distracted. And if you cannot continuously stimulate people, whether they be your friends or a romantic partner, you are now dead to them in a way, right? Because social media, there's so many options available to you. Before, you were limited to the people who are in your town or your city or your state. And now you have access to people all around the world due to social media. Now you have hundreds of dating apps. If you're angry with someone, it's so easy to find someone else to engage with. So there's no time in which you get to work things out, because if something doesn't please you, you simply move to something else. You move on to something else. And that kills love, because I think a part of what makes love so special is that love sometimes require struggle. So they can establish a foundation to which that love is built on, or you're overcoming some form of adversity. A friend of mine said to me, you learn to appreciate life after you've gone through, I apologize for using this word, shit. The shit times mean nothing once you go through them and you see how beautiful everything else is after it. But you have to go through those crap times so you can enjoy when things are going well. In every relationship, you will have your differences. Learn to listen, not simply hear what the person is saying, and learn to be wise with your words. That is something that not many of us are good at. I struggle with that to this day. Sometimes I speak before I listen, and the outcome is always disastrous. But when I take the time to listen, things go well. And I gain a bit more strength in who I am as a person, because I took the time to be patient, and I took the time to realize that maybe I should acknowledge the fact that I'm not always right. And that just because my feelings may be hurt in a situation, it doesn't mean that I have the right to tear the other person down for exposing my shortcomings. And by them exposing my shortcomings, that means that I will grow because I acknowledge them. And you have to be humble enough to acknowledge your shortcomings. Because if you don't acknowledge them, all you're going to do is just constantly hurt those around you and push them away until you are left alone. Till you are completely isolated because you've hurt one too many people one too many times. So listen when others around you are speaking. Listen with your heart and not just with your mind. And that being said, on the flip side, sometimes the worst thing that we can do is not be honest with the people we say that we love, out of fear that if we are honest, we are going to lose them. You can tell the truth without completely destroying another human being. You can be constructively criticizing a person in a way in which, even though it's a hard to swallow pill, it can still be digested. And sometimes you have to just shock the system and just tell someone the truth that, hey, you're messing up. You're harming yourself and you're harming those around you. Because when we let fear set in, fear is the killer of love. Fear is the creator of insecurities. Fear of losing someone may be the reason why we end up losing them in the end. So love is a struggle at times. It's a battle. But the reason why it is love is because it endured and it overcame. And when things overcome obstacles, they may struggle during the process, but they become stronger in the end. And the struggle is the part of the process that creates everlasting love. So think about that. Now, in wrapping up now, I will say that while love means many different things to different people, if you know that you're loved, cherish that love and never take it for granted. If you are in the process of seeking love or entertaining love, nurture it and give it the time it needs to grow. Don't force it. The moment you become obsessed over love, it's no longer love. It's control. The moment you feel that love is overbearing, it's no longer love. Because love is freeing. While love may cause you to sacrifice for your children or your significant other, love is also liberating. True love is liberating. Because even if you're going through hard times, the love of your friends may cause you to not feel like you're going through hard times. I remember when we were playing sports, and when one of us did something wrong and was being punished, we would all share in that punishment together, even though we did not do anything wrong. And the reason why we did this, and at the time I did not understand it, it was to show that even though this person messed up, we're still in this together, and they did not have to suffer alone. And it also taught them on the flip side that their actions hurt other people. And even though we're in this relationship of being teammates together, when they did something wrong, it hurt the group as a whole. And if this person truly cared, they would not repeat certain actions if it could be helped. And life is more complicated than sports, right? So certain things require more patience and certain things require time. If you're willing to endure something with someone, do it because that is what you know is right for you, and not simply because that's what you think you should do. You know, doing this podcast has been so enlightening to me because it has allowed me to reflect, on my past experiences and to also analyze my actions each day. And I take into account the things that I say to people and my interactions with them. And this has been such an amazing experience for me that being that this podcast's episode is about love, I would like to express my love and gratitude to all those who have tuned in to listen to this podcast. You've taken a moment of your time to give me some of your attention. I was taught to always have an attitude of gratitude, and I know that the podcast would not be doing as well as it is doing currently without your support. And I'm still new to this experience, and I'm learning so much in the process. It was a decision that I knew that if I didn't do it now, that I would never do it. And as such, I'm learning as I go. And to those of you who have taken the time to DM me on Instagram, I would like to say thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for your time. And I hope that you, just as you've taken the time to listen to what I have to say, and as you've taken the time to message me, take time to appreciate those around you, and take time to say thank you. Don't assume that people know that you're grateful. Say that you're grateful anyway, so that it's known. For sure. You know with all certainty that others know that you appreciate them. The last thing that I would like to say is, I want you to think of the strongest person that you know in your life. Whoever that may be. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's your mother, your father, or the person at Starbucks. Think of who the strongest person in your life is. Emotionally, mentally, whatever capacity that you desire. And I want you to take time to appreciate that person. Because a lot of times the person that's the strongest is the person that suffers alone. And that's the person that endures so much to be strong. The person that's the most patient may have had to endure constant hardships over and over again. And they'd had to overcome so many things so they could learn the lesson of patience. And the person that's mentally resilient, maybe they've had multiple, endless, countless mental breakdowns to build up mental resilience so that they could be strong enough to endure what life has to dish out on them and still lend a loving ear or have something kind and uplifting to say to you. So take time to appreciate those around you.